You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo, talking crypto, blockchain, Web3, non-fungible tokens, metaverse, and...
What the f*** is a non-fungible token?
We'll get to that.
Yes, we will. We will get to that. Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. As you know, we are sponsored by the Crypto Business Conference. Crypto Business Conference happening in October in beautiful San Diego. And actually a little teaser, our guest today will actually be there speaking. And so we'll get to hang out there together. And for those that are listening or watching this, if you love the interview and you want to get like kind of double for your money, you can come hang out with the two of us there in beautiful San Diego. And before we get into the interview, we are buying an NFT every single day for a year on this journey to 365 days. And we've been trying to do a little bit like of a throwback each episode, each one of the episodes on different ones that we've minted, different projects. And of course, this one, I want to do a quick throwback, back, and it's not too long ago, but it is back on February 26th. It is actually number 107 in our collection of 365. I believe today will be actually 280 total that we will have in our collection. So back on 107, we minted CryptoTechWomen. I said, I love the art, the team led by Gigi. And then I said, the purpose is to support and empower women to be in tech and succeed in tech. We envision a world where extraordinary women are leading the tech industry and the Web3 revolution. I mean, anyone that knows me, that's pretty much right up the alley. Kind of take my ETH. You can pretty much have my ETH when it comes to that. But the beauty of that is I know many of you that are in our community, both watching live on video as well as listening to the podcast, also are holders of the CryptoTechWomen project. And in our Discord, just for those that are aren't familiar, we actually have ambassadors for a bunch of the projects that we minted and many of you hold. And so you actually don't have to go everywhere to figure out all the things. We actually pool a lot of those projects into our Discord, hopefully to make it easier, but also so you can connect with others that are NFT 365 listeners, but are also hold similar NFTs like the ones that you might hold as well. And so with that being said, I want to jump into this, and I'm going to bring in our guest into the show. And it is the founder of CryptoTechWomen and definitely a leader here in the Web3 space. Gigi, thanks so much for joining the podcast. Really looking forward to the conversation. Let the audience know a little bit about you and your background, and we'll get into these questions.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, it's been so crazy. I feel like I know you, but this is the first time we've seen each other face to face. And yeah, thank you for everyone who's here. For anyone out there who does not know me, my name is Gianina Scarlett, and mainly everyone calls me Gigi to this point. For my background, I'm Latina. I'm from Venezuela. And before joining the Web3 space, I was a software engineer in Silicon Valley. So my background is heavy on software engineering and management. And in Web2, I was already doing kind of a similar thing. I was super in love with just the tech world and Web2 and all of the opportunities that it has. So it kind of migrated over to Web3 once I came in here.
So, so tell me a little, so when was that? When did you kind of get into the NFT space, and what at first attracted you to this space?
Yeah. Okay. So I first got into the NFT space. It was last year. I think it was about June. So I had heard of NFTs since I think February, and it was a joke within my company, like, oh, like let's make our company an NFT company. But like to that point, I didn't really understand the whole broad of things that you could do in Web3. It was just like NFTs. And then by June, I had one of my best friends. He started building NFT project. So basically I told him about NFTs. I'm like, hey, like go check that out. Let me know how it is. And then he came back and he's like, hey, I'm going to build a play to earn game. I'm like, what in the world is that? So long story short, he is not an engineer. So he wanted to kind of like do crypto zombies with me and see if it would take me longer or shorter, because he was trying to learn how to build his own game and build like the contract as well. So that was the start. It was just him talking about something called Solidity and something called crypto zombies, and making it a challenge, like let's see who takes longer. And for me, I love competition and I love challenges, so it was a no-brainer to do it. And yeah, I think like halfway or maybe a quarter in the way, he was just like, yeah, like this is definitely not for beginners. But by that time, I was kind of like into it. And it also helps that he was that friend who would be like, hey, have you done it today? How far are you? And he would just be kind of like on my back about it, which is great. Uh, and yeah, I think after I finished the course, which I'm telling you, every week he would check in. Where are you at? How's it going? Is it taking you long? Then he was like, hey, like you should drop a project now that you know how to write a contract. And to that point, I had been learning how to write a contract, but it wasn't even in my mind to drop a project since I was, full time at my previous company, which is a startup, and I was a founding front-end engineer. So it's a lot of responsibility to have, but that was the start, basically.
Well, I love that, and shout out to him for bringing you in the space and all of us kind of benefiting from that. I think we all need that like champion. And you mentioned you like challenges. A Latina in the software tech space. Apparently, you like challenges, right? I think you are. I'm sure end up being oftentimes not only the only female, but only Latina in a lot of the space. What attracted you to this, like being a software engineer? What was the attraction to that? And I'm asking slightly selfishly because, as a dad of 3 girls, my 2 oldest love STEM. They've done 3D printing. My oldest is taking a coding class in school, which I just think it's awesome that middle schools actually even have that today. But they're very familiar with your project. They knew actually your voice just even from our Twitter spaces together. But talk to me a little bit about like, how did you kind of first find, your kind of love for software engineering? And then how was that, for you kind of getting into this space, especially kind of, I'm sure with some of the challenges that, were kind of put in your way?
Yeah, so software engineering was actually my first love, or just coding. It started when I was 16. I was just browsing the internet and I got an ad for Codecademy. I think it was just when they were starting. And it was like, you want to build a website or something? And I was like, ooh, like, what is this? And then, yeah, I just started on Codecademy. So this is funny. I have a thing with zombies apparently, because when I first took my first class in coding, which was with Codecademy, it was a zombie game. So you were basically learning JavaScript in an interactive way while playing with zombies, which shout out to Solidity as well. And I don't know, it was just so awesome to be able to, with just a few commands and pressing a few keys, you're building something. And I think for me, just the thought of being able to build and create, it just inspires me so much. So that was how it started. I just got an ad. I played it. It was super fun. And I just continued down the rabbit hole. And I just felt really empowered to be able to build things on my computer that I could also see. So that was the beginning.
So you mentioned Solidity, and I think for those that are listening, a lot of people aren't familiar with kind of what what is the coding and the components that are unique here in the blockchain or on in Web3, and also even like the smart contract components, and depending on the blockchain, some of the things that exist there. I'm curious, from, I would say for a lot of our guests that we've had on, we've had a lot of women founders on our show, and I'm very proud about that, in our, as far as, interviews. And you're, I believe, the first that has kind of like that software engineering background, which probably doesn't surprise you because I don't know how many other NFT project founders are out there that have that as a background. What would you say, like for you, as you got in the space, you mentioned how you started kind of, you didn't, jump in and were buying and flipping. You didn't jump in and were, all in on a community or like, hey, I need to be talking on Twitter spaces. You kind of looked at it from a different, perspective. So I'm curious, like, as you started, that initial coding, as you started thinking about your own project, what were some of like either the projects or people that kind of opened your mind to what was possible in this space, especially with, your background?
Yeah, so one of them I don't remember, but that has to be like the first shout out. So initially I heard about weird whales. I think that was the first news I ever heard. And, from Weird Whales, I heard about Seth Run, and that was like the joke we were making at my company. I'm like, oh, like we should build something like Seth Run. But never mind, like we're an AI company. We wouldn't do that. But that was kind of the first impressions I got. And then later on, I started researching Weird Whales, and I read about the story. I think it was a project. I forget the name. It's like a banana project. Helped the kid that built it, which I don't know his name, but he helped them with like the code, and I knew I could find it somewhere. So it was a lot of research. So initially, the first projects I mentioned are all male. So I was kind of just, I will say this, I like studying human behavior. I like learning. I'm an observer. I like people watching. So I was just kind of taking it all in, understanding what people talk about in Web3. What is Discord? Why do we need Discord? And yeah, I think like it went from like finding all these mail collections, and I really like the banana one, which I wish I remember the name, because they were the first one to say, hey, if you own our NFT, you get access to the source code to create your own NFT project. And this was back in like June. So it was super early when no one was sharing any information on how to build things, or to my knowledge, token gating to that extent. So it was pretty cool like that. I think I learned a lot from just that project. And then I started finding new projects. I found World of Women, and I found CryptoTechs before it ever minted. I was like very early to a lot of projects, but my friend never told me about the wallet. He told me about crypto zombies, but the wallet part he definitely missed. So I was just an observer because I didn't know about like, I had some Ethereum. I didn't know how it all worked together. And then, yeah, so I heard about the ones I mentioned, and then World of Women and CryptoTechs.
Wow, that's so funny. And I laugh because the wallet conversation, like I was very similar where, someone asked like, do you have crypto? And I was like, yeah, I have crypto. And then they like completely skipped over the need for me to have a wallet that could hold NFTs. Like it didn't even come up in a conversation until I remember one day when someone was like, well, now that you have that crypto, like buy it. And I'm like, well, I click on this button on the website and there's 3 options. And I don't know, like none of those 3 say Coinbase, which is what I had. And they were like, oh, wait, you can't use Coinbase and I remember I missed the mint, and I think it was probably 3 months later before I ever even, got my own NFT. Cause then I was like, I don't want to, deal with this wallet and all of that, that kind of side of the house. So I love that you shared that kind of that perspective, and shout out, anyone that's listening that knows that project that was giving kind of that early access to source code. I would love to, figure out what that project is. Cause that is, that was, way early. For people that are in the space now where it feels very collaborative, it was not that way last summer. Last summer was not collaborative. And I think part of it was because we didn't even know what to share, right? In many cases. Like I remember, I had a ton of friends that minted Bored Apes, and I, of course, was mocking them for, buying expensive monkey photos. And then even when I talked to them about like, oh, well, like a couple of them didn't even know what blockchain the Bored Apes were on. Like it was like they were like, no, I was in a clubhouse room and someone walked me through setting up this and I ended up getting it. But and you mentioned CryptoTechs, of course, and we have both of us are fans and friends with that team and where they've kind of come along on the journey. I'm curious, as you started thinking about that first project that you wanted to create, which we know of CryptoTechWomen. I believe, I think we interacted before CryptoTechWomen kind of came to life. What were some of those entry points, the things you started doing, kind of leading up to the actual launch of CryptoTechWomen, which happened, earlier this year?
Yeah, I think it was just, and I talk about this a lot with my friends. It's like, I don't think I knew exactly what was going to happen. So in Web 2, I did mention I was already kind of building my community to bring more women and minorities into tech. And that was my full mission with an Instagram I had. I created a Slack. So it wasn't a Discord, but I had a Slack community. And I think coming into Web3, because my mission was basically to do what I was already doing in Web2, but doing it in Web3 instead of Web2, as I saw more opportunities and a lower barrier of entry in Web3. I said, I'm going to switch my mission and come to Web3, right? And bring people in here. So it was very natural for me. For me, it was mainly building a community, communicating the message, communicating the whys, and finding people that aligned with that. That was it. Like I didn't have like this master plan. And I sometimes I think about it and I'm like, I know a lot of people that do, and they premeditate every single thing before they even launch a Discord. For me, it was mainly like, hey, like I have this mission. I know there's other people out there that are gonna either want to join or will know someone that will want to join the mission. And it was just communicating kind of that to everyone.
Well, and I think one of the important pieces of that is that you already had the mission, right? You had the purpose and the intention of what you hoped to create. And I do believe it was one of the early spaces. I remember you mentioning about the Slack community that you were already kind of building into this space. How did that go over in like the Slack community and those that were already following you? Did it come over as like, oh, it's a natural progression as it was for you, or did some of them how did that push back? I'm guessing there was probably some haters, some that didn't understand NFTs, some that went probably not willing. But talk to us a little bit about that transition, because I know for a lot of people out there, that's a massive, difficult thing to even if people are into the software side and pushing the envelope with tech, opening their mind to crypto and NFTs and Discord and all these things that we have. How did that transition go for you early on?
Yeah, so you're actually going to laugh. The transition that happened is that there was no transition. I kind of just went full into Web3. And for everyone out there who has an Instagram, the techie Instagram is called Gigi_codes. So very literal. As CryptoTechWomen, Gigi codes, it cannot be more literal than that. And I had a platform. I had a really good platform, very engaged members of the community and engaged people at like completely. But for me, for it to be the most authentic, I decided to come into Web3, creating a whole new Twitter, brand new personality, and don't bring in my Web2 following, because I wanted to make sure that I was capturing the right target audience before going back, which is now the plan. Now it's going back to my audience and saying, hey guys, this is amazing. This is all that I've learned. This is how you can come here too. But for me, it seemed to make most sense to look for the ones that wanted to be in here before trying to bring in an audience that, as you know, are very resistant to Web3.
Well, I mean, and I think it's such an important lesson for everyone listening here, right? It's easy for us to feel like we want to bring in the Web2 community or bring over our Instagram followers. But if we're not prepared to onboard, if we're not prepared to educate, or if we don't know enough ourselves, right? Perfection is not the goal. Master of everything is not the goal, but enough to translate what the hell is going on here, what you need to make happen. It's better for us not to bring those people in that case. Wait till we're ready and we can help in that manner. I know I told you this on Twitter Space the other day on Sunday, but Delphi Cat Allison on our team, who now runs a lot of my personal world, she credits you for being the only reason that she kind of jumped in to this space. She discovered you and your mission and was kind of attracted to what this space has to offer, and so I owe you a bit of thanks for that, because she then ended up discovering the podcast and has become not only an active member on the community but now on our team every day. And so it's kind of beautiful how that kind of all works together. You mentioned about you didn't have a lot of those things figured out, but you knew what your mission was. What did your team look like, or how did you find the art? Talk a little bit about because there are a lot of people I believe that are listening that are like, oh, I love where Gigi was. I love what she created, but there's a big gap between having that mission, wanting to go all in Web3, and then actually having a project, having art, and building a team. What did that look like kind of before you launched? And then I'd love to hear a little bit about what it looks like today.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Delphi Cat. That's so, you told me that story and I'm like, that's so sweet. And that drives me. That's what motivates me, right? That I don't need to build the most high project. I just need to build a high value project that is valuable to me, which is education and fun experiences, but mainly onboarding and education, because it's so needed. So shout out to Delphi. And then in terms of the project, yes. So I was kind of figuring things out as it goes. Pros for me is I do know engineering, which also you don't need to be an engineer, right? There's a lot of pages oh my God, I'm blanking, but even Wix, I think now has,
Yeah.
there's a lot of no code pages that you can use now. So I decided to code because that's just what I know to do. And it's just easier for me. But you don't need to be an engineer to jump into the space. If you are doing a PFP project or any project that has art, you do need art. So I'm definitely not an artist. I am very creative, but not an artist. So how it went about is I already had the image of CryptoTechWomen in my brain, and it was mainly because I do have a photo of myself in front of my computer and I'm just smiling. And it's kind of that PFP image. So I kind of had that image and I needed the art. So I do not know any artists. I do know designers. So I tried to went that route, but it didn't work out. And honestly, I just hired an agency. I hired an agency. I had a few agencies kind of vet for the process, agencies and artists. I already had a mood board of what I wanted it to look like, from the colors to backgrounds. And then the person that got it the closest to my vision, which is this one, was the person I hired. And then also for anyone out there, at that point, I didn't even know about generative process, right? Like I was like, okay, there's 8,888 pictures. How will this happen? How will this work? And I was very lucky. I hired an agency that did have knowledge on how to create PFP projects. So then from there, it was me. And this could be either the artist or it could be you. For me, I was the person who led the direction for it. So I looked for every single trait that you see on the CryptoTechWomen's. Every single trait was handpicked by me. And then it was brought to life by them.
Love that. And I love the, the agency play there. Right. And I also say, for like, that's a commitment to the project, right? There's a lot of people that like, especially in the, let's just say the fall and the early part of this year that, they launched the NFT project, but they weren't committed. They weren't willing to hire an agency, put their own money and, kind of time on that line. And the fact that you did, right, is just another testament to like what you were, you're building. Your team today, talk a little bit about what your team looks like now and kind of how you're operating the project now. It's been what, I guess 6 months or so. I guess you're right around 6 months since launch.
Yeah, it was 6 months. So basically also just to like give some clarity, up until mint, I think it was until like 2 weeks before mint or like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, very close to the mint. That was when I actually hired a team. So I was running by myself from September till January. And then, but I did hire some mods. So I did bring in some mods, which is super necessary, especially if like the Discords are like pre-mint. I had some mods and then I hired someone on the team who was also helping facilitate just like Twitter spaces and help with the mods. And now fast forward, I have a really good team. So I'm very happy. I have finance department, super needed. I have a legal team. I definitely recommend anyone who wants to do an NFT project or anything in Web3, hire a legal team. It's super necessary. I have someone working brand communications, content writing. I have Sally, who is head of marketing and has been such an amazing hire. Let's see, I just hired a new community manager. Her name's Gigi, so that's going to be awesome. I have an advisor, Dan. I have a pretty, like, it's still small. It's still a small team, but it's a good team. I am still looking to hire some more. So I'm currently hiring someone for social media. And we have the educational platform coming out. So we need to fill in some roles that can help us grow that platform as well.
So I'm curious, like I love that. I love the team. Shout out to your team. I love what you guys have been building since day one. This is one of the projects that I talk a lot about. Like, you not only commitment to your space and having kind of your vision with growing the tech knowledge side of the house, onboarding into Web3, empowering. But I remember those days leading up to your mint, right? And the Twitter spaces and you sharing your story. And, for those that want to, come context in that too, like there were a lot of people that just came up there celebrating you, right? And the things that you were sharing and the people that you had helped and the opportunity that a lot of people felt like, you kind of welcome them into the space. And so for me, I remember feeling like, wow, that's a great way to kind of bring that project to launch. How did launch day go for you? Like, how was that initial kind of feeling? Was it what you had hoped for? Was it more overwhelming, less overwhelming? I'm curious just how that was, as you guys launched.
Can I give a shout out to the team before I forget? Okay,
Course.
shout out to Joe, Sally, Nisa, D, Rigi, TT Burger, Nick Hill, Luke, and B that's coming on. I think that's it. And shout out to Dan as well. Okay, sorry, I had to get that out. So launch day. So launch day was the day that I was anticipating a lot. It was a very exciting day because, like you said, like we had so many supporters and it was just so fun. And then the day before our launch date, so the night before, it was the first day of the Russian war. So I remember I was going to sleep and I'm over the moon because everything's going so great. And then I'm on the phone and the person's asking me, did you see that Russia just launched a missile? And I was like, no. And I didn't even believe it. So having said that, the night before turned very chaotic. Obviously, when this sort of events happen, there's a lot of kind of like fear and uncertainty. So navigating through that was very hard as well, trying to make the decisions. But yeah, it was definitely stressful. And there were things that didn't go obviously as we wanted to. But what did go as we wanted to is that we had a successful launch and the people that loved the project were able to mint and we were able to sell out. But yeah, I think, and this is very normal. So I do know a lot of other founders and they were like, yeah, before your mint, like things are going to go a little crazy. Like it always happens. And I was like, nah, we're good. And then it did. So yeah, I think it's part of the process.
Yeah, you aren't alone there, that's for sure. And we had Danielle on from 90s Babes, and we also had Asher on from Lazy Lions, and both of them kind of talked about the chaos around events, in many cases outside of Web3 that really impact this space. Now that you're 6 months in, I know you have a recent kind of an announcement that you've launched, but talk to me a little bit about that was February, and I mean the market from February until now it's been rough. It's been rough sailing, and from my point of view, there are projects that when you're getting into them, you're into it for the long haul because you believe in their mission. There's others that you're checking the floor price, doing some things like that, and I talk a lot about that here on the podcast. Your project is one of them. I can honestly say, we had it in our collection from Mint365. I hold a couple myself individually. I have not checked the floor price since I've owned it. Like I could tell you that I have not once had the need or desire to even go check the floor price, because for me it's investing in the mission, the vision, but we also know secondary sales and those things help fund a lot of the things that you want to bring to life. How has that been for you? How has the first 6 months been? How have you been able to kind of adapt with the changing market, which changes our budget, changes even, I mean, it changes the personality and the feelings of a lot of our NFT owners. Talk to us a little bit about these last 6 months.
Yeah, so I would say obviously, like I mentioned, the initial part of it was very successful and we had like some good days in the initial days. But as soon as our mint happened was when we kind of came into the bear market. It was very immediate. So as you said, sentiment and just the people that are around change. But I will say I'm very lucky that the majority of our holders are in it because of the same thing, are in it because of the mission, because of the utility. So it's not only that we say, hey, we support women and we want to onboard, is that we're actually taking steps every day that bring value to our holders, whether it is through masterclasses and the educational platform we're building, live workshops. We have a one-on-one advisory for people that want to launch a project. We have to go through a vetting process, but we choose one builder a month and it's completely free, just trying to bring back. So I think we have enough utility where most people are just in it because they like the utility and what we're doing. I will say, like, as you mentioned, secondary volume is super important. And for us, it's so funny because every time we do like Twitter Spaces or we have like live events, that is a boost for us. So I would say, I think most of our holders are just happy to be in a project that is actually providing them a utility that they can feel whether it is the holders that love the in real life events and the fun, or the ones that are in it for the education, or we do have a lot that are in it because they have daughters and they want to like teach their daughters, and it's just really amazing.
Yeah, it's a very welcoming community, for men and those that identify as men and non-binary as well. You mentioned in real life events. I happened to attend a yacht party there in New York that you guys put together. How did that all come together? Like for NFT NYC, I mean, a yacht party is pretty ambitious. I can say, and you had a great DJ, a great kind of energy that was there. Talk to us a little bit about that IRL event that you guys put together.
Yeah, so IRL for us has been super important. We've done some IRL events in LA because I was there. I'm currently in New Jersey, and we have a lot of our team there. So we've done some in real life events there, just like dinners and drinks. And then New York City, we also did one in Austin. Actually, I rented like this beautiful house, and it was just absolutely beautiful. New York City was another scale. So for New York City, we've heard of all the events that have happened. I did not go last year, but my friend was. So I had all the details of how crazy it gets. And yeah, so it was kind of like, I don't know, like brainstorming with the team. Initially, we wanted to do something with a lot of other women projects. So for us, we are truly about collaborating and uplifting others. And I think, you have to be authentic to that. So initially we did try to make like a big event with a lot of projects, but as you know, the bear market happened and a lot of people pulled back. Like it wasn't even a question. But with the projects that I was already in talks with, one of them was Desperate Ape Wives with them. So we did kind of like the boat party together. So initially we were going to do like a laser room and VR room, and then plans changed. We ended up doing a yacht party, and it was honestly mainly like from their ideation, because for us we wanted to do kind of like the VR party, but yeah, we just went over with like the yacht party. And I actually like Blondish, so I've seen her before. And yeah, it just kind of like happened naturally. But we also did a second event, so we know like the yacht party is great for people that love parties, but if you're in it to network and get to know each other, a yacht party is probably not the best for you. So we also did a brunch party where it was super awesome. We had like 40, I would say like 42 or 48 women that showed up, 2 guys, which is definitely like different than what they were used to, but they loved it. And it was just a lot of networking and getting to know each other.
I love that, and I think part of this is we're all figuring out way to do the combination of IRL events. I love that you've done ones sporadically along the way as well. You mentioned something and we kind of skipped over it. I want to pull back a little bit. You mentioned that like projects can apply and you're picking like one a month. When you first shared that, I remember being like, that is I like the application component, right? Because it's not about everyone is a great fit to work with everyone. It shouldn't just be random. Like people applying with like, what are the things that your team has strong suits on, and that you can help with those other projects. How has that gone with like people applying and kind of jumping in there? Has it been, because I think there's a lot of people, and the reason I bring this up is I think there's a lot of people that don't feel like they're far enough to apply, but they think they're far enough to like, they want to launch a project, and they're kind of in that like lost space of like, they want to find their home. And, on our team, we have Leslie that we brought on who is doing a builders co-op right now. We're kind of helping bring, NFT project builders together. But I would love to just hear how has that gone with people applying, and what are some of the things that you've seen that maybe surprised you or excited you as far as, projects that wanted to, work with you, or you guys kind of help mentor them along the journey?
Yeah. So honestly, for this one, I have to give 99% props to Sally. So Sally came up with this idea, and she was like, hey, like, what do you think? Because I do get so many DMs from people from our community that want to collaborate, that want advice. And she knows that. So she's like, and I do take the time to jump on a call, and she's like, okay, Gigi, like we need to funnel it. So let's funnel it through CryptoTechWomen and make it a holders perk. So everyone knows and everyone has like the same opportunity. And then honestly, like she created all of it. She created like the questions, and we are basically taking in anyone who is up to 3 months before mint or 1 month after mint. So it could be that you already minted and things did not go the way you wanted to, so you want to apply. And we kind of ask just the basics. Who are you? What's your mission? Do you have utility? You don't need to have utility. Like that's a choice every project makes, but we want to know if you do. So do you have utility, and what are your pain points? What are you expecting to kind of get out of, we do 2 calls. So what are you expecting to get? And from there, from those answers, then we know, I will always join, but then we know who's the right person kind of to take over the meeting. And then the first one is tackling the pain points and the issues that they're having and giving suggestions. And then the second one is the check-in. Did you do those things? How did it go? And yeah.
I love that. I love that you brought that together. And you also mentioned, kind of the master classes. I know you've done the Sunday Twitter space, but we just recently kind of launching the some additional education. Talk to us about what that looks like, and for those that are holders or those that will soon be holders, what they can look forward to.
Yeah, so since the start, I always had the idea of let's build an educational platform, and it's something that we're building in-house. I'm actually building it myself, and I'm coding it completely. Nice. So it's not something that happens in one day. So what we decided to do immediately was starting to do live master classes, right? So every month we would do 1 to 2 master classes a month, not including the Twitter spaces. So this is totally different, mainly for holders. And now we're finally at the point where we are releasing the educational platform. It's actually coming out today. So if anyone doesn't have the Twitter notifications on, turn it on. And yeah, so how it's going to be different is we are still going to be doing some live workshops, because I do believe it's so important to do like things live. But most of our master classes and workshops, and we're actually launching a bootcamp with blockchain language, which you'll find out, will all live in the educational platform. So if you're not a holder, you can definitely look at the website and kind of like look through the pages, but to be able to access the bootcamp or be able to join a course, anything else, it has to be through your CryptoTechWomen NFT. So basically you will log into our website with your CryptoTechWomen NFT, and we are actually planning so much content from hot wallets, cold wallets, and just a lot of Web3 educational content. Is not only for engineers. We will also serve engineers, but it's more of a generalist platform where if you want to come into marketing, if you want to come in as a learner, if you want to come in as a builder, as a creator, we just want to serve a lot of different topics that can be amazing for all of our holders.
I love it. I love it. I mean, definitely needed for sure. And get those Twitter notifications on. You started off by talking about like your curiosity, and we share a love. I think it's one of the greatest sports in the world. It's called people watching. I just love people watching. I just think the human condition is so interesting to watch how we interact, how people share and talk about things. I'm curious, as we kind of wrap this for this episode, as a Latina woman that is in software engineering, that is the founder of a project, you are kind of like a unicorn in multiple scenarios. But I know we have unicorns that are listening to this. We have people that are like, I want to get in, but I don't fit the mold, right? Or I don't have a marketing background or a finance background, or I'm not an artist. For those that are sitting there, thinking that, what is your advice or your thoughts on, those that feel like they don't fit the mold of the founder, or maybe they're more on the tech side and they can't figure out what their role is in this space?
Yeah, I will say, first of all, that's totally normal to feel. I'm there with you. Even though I'm here, in the beginning, I would lay in bed at night for hours just thinking, how am I going to do this? Right? So you're not alone if you feel that way. What helped me was break down my goals. And I totally can tell you, this was a vivid memory. I was laying in bed. It was like 1 a.m. And I just had, I'm like, how am I going to do this? So I started breaking it down like, okay, so if I want to sell out 8,000 pieces, how many people do I need to reach at a minimum, right? At a minimum, if everyone buys one, 8,888.
Right.
If everyone buys two, and I would say just start breaking down the problems. The way that I did it helped me understand what were the skills needed for each problem I was facing. I'm not a marketer, but I had to learn how to be my own marketer, right? So break down what is your goal. And my issue in the beginning is I didn't really know anyone that could help me. And mainly, I didn't really reach out to anyone. I was kind of taking it all on my own. I will definitely suggest for anyone out there, break down what's your goal. If it's selling an NFT project, break it down. You need marketing, you need community, legal, finance, content writing, social media management, and obviously like website building and art as a beginning if you're doing a PFP project. So then from there, start thinking, what are the skills that you can learn? A lot of those things you can find like a course online that you can go through. And then for all the other ones that you either can take, you don't want to, you don't have the time, then start looking for other people that can help. And you can do that. I know there's a lot of like Discourse where people go in and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Anyone wants to partner? But definitely just start looking into the people that you either know or you'll get to know by joining Web3 and building your relationships, building your friendships, which is super important. And then from there, just start asking, hey, like I'm building this and I need this. Do you know anyone? Are you the person? And I would definitely suggest anyone out there, don't do it alone, get a team. And I never knew a team. So when I would hear this, I would always say, where? But the answer is go find it. Go tell people your needs. Because if you communicate, a lot of people will be really receptive and maybe they want to join or they'll know someone that can.
Amen. I think the best thing to do is being that collector before you're a creator and jumping into these Discords. There are people that have created projects, trying to build projects. There are coders, there are website designers, marketers, artists that are very active in lots of great projects that are in this community, especially right now. Those that are in it right now are not in it for the money alone, or maybe some of them are, and they're the ones that are, I worry of their mental health at the moment because it is a little bit of a tough time there on that side. Gigi, I really appreciate you jumping on. I love, your leadership. I love that, you don't call yourself a marketer, but you do a great job of, kind of empowering not only conversations to happen, but empowering your team. Your team's creating some great things as well. I guess the last question I have for you from a standpoint of, the software engineer side, right? We have some people that are watching live from a, Solidity or understanding front end, back end dev. How difficult has been that kind of like what is needed in this space, including like the smart contract side? How have you looked at is it an entire new learning curve? Like what would you tell people as far as those that maybe are curious, like how much of a lift is it as far as difference between Web3 and Web2?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for anyone out there who does know front-end engineering or front-end programming, which is basically the code that you write that will create what you can see. So for those people, you have a lot of luck because you only need to learn a few libraries to get into it. So if you're already doing React, Next.js, Vue, you can still use that in Web3, which is also for anyone who wants to join in and they like the instant gratification of seeing how something is built and seeing it come to life. That is actually, I would say, like an easier path to come into than just like back-end engineering. I'm biased, but that's my thought. But yeah, so if you already do front-end or like front-end, that's, I would say, easiest route, lowest hanging fruit. For anyone who wants to learn Solidity, for me, I am full stack, but it was also very easy to learn because I know TypeScript, I know Python, I know JavaScript, and basically Solidity is a mix of that. So it's a contract language and it's strictly typed. And when I say strictly typed, it's kind of like when we say Spanish is Spanish. Eventually, when you're coding, some things it's supposed to be a string, which could be like a name, or it's supposed to be an object, which means it has nested data. And all of this rant to say, if you do know some programming or the fundamentals, it won't be too hard to come into Web3.
I love that. And I appreciate that context. I don't think anyone is, I think I would actually I would love to see more, even yourself, being able to talk about that component more, because I know there's a lot of devs in my world that like haven't stepped in yet, and they're wondering like what is the the best side. As someone that runs their life off of dopamine hits, front end always attracted me. Unfortunately, I was a computer science major in my back before, even before WordPress existed, I did the web design side, and I was like the hand coding HTML. And then once they added all these components, I jumped out of that space because it was just not a skill set that I had. But I've been blessed to kind of be able to play here and there, and most recently kind of experimenting in this space just from my knowledge of basic coding. I mean, and I'm old, so it was 2003 when I graduated university. But that's helped for me. I feel like I know enough now that I can pick up some of the things that are out there. So I love that you're leading that charge and what you're putting out to the world. I'll let you kind of have a final word on anything you want to leave the listeners with. Anything you want to. I know they're we're gonna put the links for the Twitter, or links for the website with the education program. Definitely a shout out to your team as well. But any final words before we send her on the way?
Yeah, some final words. So for anyone out there, thank you so much. If you have made it here, or if you're here listening live, we really appreciate you. And yeah, if you're a crypto curious, if you're a learner, creator, or builder, we welcome everyone into CryptoTechWomen. You don't have to be a female. We welcome all genders in. And yeah, I'm super excited for the platform launch. It's called We Learn Academy, and we reading as Web3. So W3 Learn Academy. And yeah, you can expect so many amazing things coming out of it from every single topic you want. And this is something that we want to, from now on, build with the community. So we are all ears about what are the features you want to see, what are the topics you want to hear, because we really want to build something that is going to bring so much value to our CryptoTechWomen holders and to anyone out there that gets to use it later on.
Well, Gigi, I mean, I love that message. Usually, I have to do a segue into a sponsor segue, but I don't actually have to do that this watch, because you're going to be speaking at the event there, Crypto Tech, the Crypto Business Conference that is happening, and your session is called "How to Build an NFT Project from Scratch." So I've been very blessed. Mike Stelzner, the founder of Social Media Examiner, has been a good friend. He's an avid listener of the show, sponsors the podcast. I'm, of course, speaking there as well. And when we were going over speakers and we were talking about you, we were both excited for you to be a part of that, excited for that session. And I'm excited to hang out IRL because I missed that opportunity. You were a popular woman there on the boat, and I didn't cut in and come say hi, but I'll make up for that at the event. So for those that want to learn more about the event, it is socialmediaexaminer.com/NFT365. And then if you click on the speakers and sessions, you'll actually see, Gigi's session and mine. And we're actually right on top of each other in the lineup. So looking forward to hanging out IRL, Gigi, when we get to San Diego. And before I send everybody else on their ways, one of my pet peeves right now in this space is that we have to do a better job of celebrating the great people with great utility and great examples in this space. Right now, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that were, let's just say, they weren't in it for the right reasons. Maybe they sold out. Maybe they became, their projects became popular, or they got a lot of attention for whatever reason it was, right? Maybe an influencer, maybe they were in the right place at the right time. But there are projects and people like Gigi, like CryptoTechWomen, that are building for the future, that are here investing. And we can talk about, the need for that, or we can get our wallet and our crypto at work and go support those projects, go amplify those projects. Even if you don't own one of those NFTs, amplifying what they're doing, celebrating what they're doing. And so I don't want to hear from those that are saying, like, I wish there was more of this in the space. Well, you know how we make those wishes come true? We celebrate great use cases, great projects, great leaders like CryptoTechWomen, like with what Gigi has. So I want people to, press the damn button, jump in there, jump into the projects. Of course, not financial advice. Do your own damn research, but it's a Web 2 way of us to just complain about certain things not being there. It's a Web 3 space of saying, let's take action, let's move the needle, and let's not settle for that status quo or the ways of the past. So until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers.
Bye.